She Moved in Worlds, written by J. Pierre Mihok, narrated by Jannette Jew. Part 3 Part 3 begins with a quote from In Vision by J. P. Mihok. Roams in the deeps an eye that weeps, in lonely darkness rolled. Chapter 21 Chapter 21 begins with a quote from The Destruction of Sennacherib by Lord Byron. The tents were all silent, the banners alone. The world, a rusted cannon-ball, mounts high. A fount of light applauds. It hurls through heaven's starry hall, a toy in flight for laughing gods. And inside, past its rusted rim, the molten minds of millions swim. Had she remembered it, or dreamed a dream of violence which hurled her through that gray extended scream? Her clothes were wet, her singed hair curled. Lay rose from mud and looked around. Beyond a fringe of flowers swirled a mass of smoke. The circus grounds had burnt to cinders at a stroke. Lay wiped her brow. Her hand came black. This was too serious a joke. The gods had better take it back. Hysteria nudged at her mind. She brushed it off and, stolid, squelched across the blackened waste, to find her only friend, whom fate had filched. A flood of tears obscured her eyes. She shook her fist, a moment swayed. Life had no promises but lies. No happiness meant to stay. The tents were blasted clean away. She poked an object in the mud. A plastic eyeball rolled to glare reproach at her. Deject, she stood. At all the ruins round her stared. A scrap of clothing beckoned her. She rushed to pick it up and clutched the fluttering tatter. Here, there were prints in the mud. She hoped, too much. She bent to study them and found the prints, one bare, one booted foot, which tracked across the muddy ground aswim with rain and bits of soot. They led her in a tortured route around the smoking embers, bent in wandered ways beyond the mute and charred remains of circus tents. They disappeared beyond the dome and left no trackings on the rocks where Mr. Bangle's trailer home rusted upon its concrete blocks. She turned again and looked again at all the strewings of the scene. A clenching fist she shook in pain at this, and all that this could mean. "I'll find her," grimly gritted she. Her eye was captured by a gleam of silver. What could only be the mannequin stood melted by. Lay headed back to it, to see. Its mistress now would surely die, her husband gone, the servant she replied upon, thus rent awry. The flames had blackened it, devoured the plastics at a random whim, melted its skeleton, and scoured away the artificial skin. It stood askew, in horror grim. A movement, whirled. She looked behind. Just ashes floating in the wind. She stared about. She hoped to find, to pass the horrid news to him, old Mr. Bangle. Then her eye arrested at the circus dome. There, no more holograms would fly across the air. No ghosts would groan, now stilled, the echoes of applause. The roof had melted, burning, flowed down every arch and, wrinkled, slumped upon the walls. The gobbets glowed in black and iridescent clumps where they had twisted in their throes. The ashes stirred. Air currents mourned with hollow moans amid the waste, bestowed her cinder specks which burned corrosive. Choking with distaste, Lay roused her motions into haste, then paused before the trailer torn. She wished to hurry on elsewhere, but visioned Mrs. Bangle there unknowing, helpless, and unmourned.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?